Hi guys, this is JP from FSiPanel. On this video, I want to introduce you to the new failure panel of FSiPanel 2020 Advanced Edition. For this example, I have taken the iFly 737-800. And what is the difference? Why do we have now an advanced version of FSiPanel with this kind of panel? It's because I got a lot of feedback from pilots that want to train specific failures at specific time, and that was not possible with the standard version of FSiPanel. So let me show you now what we can do with that new version. So for example, now I open the failure panel, and if I'm interested, for example, to fail something in the ATA, the first number you see here is the ATA as per the aviation standard. So 34 is navigation. So if I click now on navigation, I will get what are my options. So let's say I want to fail now the IRS number 2 on the aircraft. I will get on the trigger page. Here you can see 34 navigation, selected failure IRS 2. And now I have the trigger options. So I can fail right now the IRS 2, or I can fail it in 30 seconds, or I can fail it in 60 seconds. In the aircraft data, you can see the actual aircraft parameters. So we are now sitting at 375 feet, 100 feet AGL, which is your radio altimeter. My speed is 0 knots as I'm sitting on the runway. My flaps are up and the gear is down. Right, so let's say now I want the failure to appear when my flaps are moved to 1. I just go to gear level. Sorry, not gear, the flaps. We set the flaps. So if I go to flaps level, I can choose now the flap setting that I want for my trigger. So let's say I go for flaps 1. Okay, now on the trigger summary, we say that trigger when flaps are moved to flaps 1. This is what I want. I can arm now. That means the failure will be ready to be activated when we meet the criteria, or arm on next approach. That means after I press move aircraft, if I press move aircraft, then the failure will become active. So when you select and you have a failure ready, make sure that the trigger conditions are not yet met, or it will automatically trigger. If, for example, I would have set flap 0 here, my aircraft is currently at flaps up, so then the trigger will immediately apply and the failure will be active. So if I click on arm now I can see on my main screen that we have a failure. The failure is IRS 2 and the trigger condition is flaps 1. So now what will happen if I go to my 7.3 and I extend the flaps to 1? So when I extend the flaps to 1, as you can see here, the IRS has failed. So let's go back into FSiPanel, and now we can see that our failure is red, means it's been triggered. If I click now on failure, I can see in red what ATA has a failure, and it will be in yellow if the failure is armed. So I will show you that now. If we select, for example, an electrical power, and let's say we want to fail the engine generator number 2, when the indicated airspeed is above 30 knots. So you see that plus accelerating minus decelerating, this is the same for the altitude AGL and altitude MSL. So if I would put a figure like plus 30, that means the aircraft must accelerate through 30 knots. If I would put something like minus 80, that will mean, for example, after landing, when my aircraft slow down below 80 knots, slowing down, then the trigger will take. So now, as you can see, I want, for example, to try when we are above 20 knots. So I put plus 20, okay. And now we can see that we're gonna have the engine 2 generator trigger when the aircraft accelerates through 20 knots. So now we have two failures. One is active, red. One is armed, yellow. So if I click on failure, I can see now my two failures. If I want to, let's say, click on navigation, I can see which one is actually failed. So right now it's IRS number 2. If I click on it, then I have several options. Either clear these malfunctions, clear all the malfunctions or go back. So if I say clear malfunction, now basically our button is only yellow and we only have an engine 2 generator which is armed. So now we have cleared the failure. Let's see if that engine 2 generator will be triggered when we move above 20 knots. So I will go on my aircraft and let's go. So we need 20 knots indicated airspeed and we should have a master caution for electrical. Boom, abort, we stop the takeoff. And let's see, parking brake. We have an electrical malfunction and we can see that it's the generator 2 as programmed. Now if I try to put it back online, as you can see, it doesn't work because it's failed. So let's go back in FSiPanel and we confirm that the failure is failed. So now if I want to clear that failure, I have two options. Either I will go again in the electrical engine generator 2 and then I will be able to clear the malfunction. Or from the main screen, I can click directly on the table here and I have the same option. So now if I clear that malfunction, there is no more malfunctions. Remember that it doesn't mean that your aircraft will set up automatically. Now the generator 2 is off bus, but there is no more failure. So if I put it back on, now it works. Same applies for the IRS 2. Remember, we failed it and then we cleared the malfunction. We can still see that we have no IRS information. This is simply because we lost position. So we will need to do a full align again to have the screen back. Of course, you cannot do that in the air because the aircraft should be in a complete still position, or we could use the attitude mode only, but this is the reason why. It doesn't mean it still failed in FSiPanel. Right, so this is the failure panel. Basically, you can choose any of the ATA and then select your failure and then choose when to fail. For the altitude, as I told you before, if I choose altitude MSL, it will be plus for climbing, minus for descending. So now if you plan departure, we can see that our altitude is 375 feet right now. So if I want, for example, this failure to trigger when I pass 1000 feet MSL, I will hit my plus key and then 1000. Enter. So now it means the trigger is when the aircraft climbs through 1000 feet. If I arm it again, it is ready to be active. It's armed. If I want to clear it, I just click on it. I have the option as well. Sorry, I forgot to mention. The trigger is altitude is above 1000 feet, but if, for example, I want to fail it now, I can just fail it now here or delete the malfunction. I'm not anymore interested by this malfunction. I delete it, or I can fail now. So if I click fail now, now we have a Windows Heat 3 overheat. So if I go to the simulator, we have a master caution and the problem is coming up there with the Windows 3 overheat. Clearing the malfunction, again, nothing easier than that. If I go there, ice and rain, Windows 3 overheat. This is the one. And I will clear the malfunction from here. And now if I go back to the aircraft, everything is back to normal. All right, one last thing about this panel is the new mode wind shear. So when you select wind shear, you have the possibility to train negative wind shear and positive wind shear. So negative wind shear will be a decrease in headwind and less lift, so you will have a sudden decrease of your indicated airspeed, while positive wind shear is an increase in headwind, so you will have suddenly an increase of your indicated airspeed, and that is both of them are very dangerous. Remember that if you get into a wind shear not even detected by the system, apply immediately your procedures, your escape maneuver. Any second loss is dangerous. So if I want, for example, to try a negative wind shear level 3, so now this is what is selected as the failure. Now a good idea for that will be to train it probably either at a certain speed when the aircraft accelerates around 160 knots, for example, just after you got airborne, or when I bring my gear up, for example, or when my radio altimeter, AGL is the above ground level, so this is your radio altimeter. So for example, when my radio altimeter is above 100 feet, now I will have a wind shear when I pass 100 feet climbing. For the wind shear mode, you need to have FSiPanel weather. It doesn't work with active sky, so far. So this is wind shear. Another thing that has changed is the TCAS training. So if I go to TCAS traffic advisory, now I can choose where the intruder will be coming from. So I can, for example, select the left aircraft here. So it means my intruder will come from my left side. And I want this intruder to be 800 feet below my position. Now again, you can use any of the trigger you want, but remember that for the TCAS to work properly, your aircraft should be straight and level. So it's better to make it when you are straight on a heading and then just fail now or fail in 30 seconds and your intruder will come. Okay guys, this is the new advanced failure panel for FSiPanel 2020, which is part of the advanced pack or advanced version of FSiPanel 2020. And it lets you basically do all kind of possible failures at your desired time and trigger. Okay guys, this is the advanced panel of FSiPanel 2020 advanced edition. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions or comments, please drop me a line below. And as always, stay safe and see you soon on another FSiPanel video. Bye bye.